Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Early Mornings LA, the 6:30 edition. How are you? The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering. I'm here, you're here, and boy, Georgians will be there as well, voting to determine the fate of the U.S. government. Two Georgia Senate seats up for vote today. What will happen? Will they both go blue? Will they both go red? Or will they split it? Remember, both blue means the Senate goes blue. Splitting it or goes red, and two red, of course, goes red as well. What will that mean for your stimulus check? I'll have all those details in this video. Meantime, I'll be turning to third stimulus check and third stimulus package. So much exciting news across the board as big things like multiple stimulus checks are on path to get going. I'm ready to get going, so let's get it rocking. This is Early Mornings LA Light. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Early Mornings Adelaide. How are you? It's the 6:30 edition. Wow, what a day it's going to be. The entire country is going to be focusing on four people in one state and how it determines the entire fate of the country. Can you imagine? Well, it has been such a run, and if you've not subscribed to this channel, please do, because we are just starting out. I had one viewer yesterday say, you know what, is it going to be stimulus in 2021? Yes, it's going to be insane amount of stimulus in 2021. Whether or not the Senate goes blue or red, you see enormous stimulus. So be prepared and get ready to rock and roll. So subscribe. Also hit that alert button so you don't miss a new video when I go live. And also like this video. Over there is an instant premiere. It's featured every day on 6:30, the 6:30 edition, and also the 6 a.m. edition. Meantime, if you've missed EIDL at 1 o'clock on Overnights LA, check that out. And the unemployment FPC video at 2 a.m. Very, very helpful for both instruments. In the instant premiere, you can chat with our buddies, talk about whether they got the check or not, and more as well. And with that, let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that the balance of power in the Senate today will not so much impact the $2,000 stimulus check, because that's going to happen. That's really not the issue. The issue is its impact on Biden's stimulus. Third stimulus check and third stimulus package. In the video right before this, I went over basically, you're going to see the remainder of that $2,000 stimulus check land in your bank account in probably the next 2 weeks. They're going to get it done. They're going to get it done to a bill and done to a vote in the next 2 weeks. That's a no-brainer. The big surprise, though, is what's going to happen with Biden's stimulus. In the last 3 days, Biden has said he wants to do a $7 trillion stimulus package for schools, a $9 trillion stimulus package for railways. That's before he even gets to us. So how much will we get, and where would it land? Well, it's not going to be $1 trillion. It's not going to be $2 trillion. It's going to be big. Big. And in this video, I'm going to go over how big it's going to be. Let's start with the stimulus checks. There are going to be several of them, and they're not going to be $600. They'll likely be $2,000, which was a number he said yesterday. In all these months, he's consistently refused to use a number. He finally said the number 2,000 yesterday. Really good news. By all accounts, he cannot use a smaller number. That would look sort of ridiculous at this point because Republicans and Democrats support $2,000. So how many checks? He won't tell us that. One viewer last night said, LA Light, is it monthly checks? And I said, it's hard to tell from Biden so far, but it'll at least be consecutive checks. You're going to see multiple checks. This pandemic's not going to be over to at least June, and Biden's representing, he's going to use stimulus until you get to the finish line. And that's what's really good news. The next thing that's really big is the FPUC. The FPUC is so much money. So let me go over the FPUC money. $600 a week, he gave us that number. And he said retro. Well, FPUC expired on July 25th of 2020 to this week. That's 20 weeks. 20 weeks at $600 is $12,000. He said it. Let's see what he does. I mean, the other alternative is he does FPUC less retro, to September or October. Well, $8,000, $9,000. You never got that $600 a week. And then he's going to take the $600 a week and go forward. So that is If you're getting $300 already, they would just pay the remainder. It would be a revisory. It would revise the existing bill for that line item. Very, very simple. He'll continue PUA. He'll continue UI past the March deadline. SSI, yes. Your $2,400 for SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and veterans benefits is something very well detailed in his transition papers, which are really sort of the benchmark of where he's going with all this. There's his transition papers, there's his campaign papers, and there's his recent statements. And when you take things and you see if he repeats things, or you see something that's much more robust and more explained than something else, then you have faith in that he's going to do that thing. Like when he talked about the $2,000 yesterday. That's consistent with how he's talked before about multiple checks and reoccurring stimulus. Now we're seeing a number. That's all really good news. For the seniors, the SSI and SSDI and things like that, that is a number that is very detailed in his package. It's so detailed, and that's why it always takes me about 2 minutes to say all the three provisions. First, $200 a month from January to December. Second, a new a lifetime increase up to 20%. That would kick in shortly thereafter, right after the bill's passed. That would raise all your benefits a lifetime. And then third, a new benchmark different than COLA, which is not really working. That would, when your benefits are reassessed every year, you would be at a new benchmark and get raised each year. So that's all really great news. Viewers have asked me some great questions over the last 24 hours. Let me get over some of my answers to those questions, or my I don't knows to those questions. One viewer said, are we going to see the first check in January? My answer is no. That Biden's going to be sworn in around the 20th, 21st. They're not going to have the bill on his table until, somewhere in the late part of January. By then, you have already received your benefits check for the month of January. So there's no way to get the $200 to you that I see on top of the check, unless they want to do a separate mailing, which they don't mention. They talk about it going on top of your check. So then, by all accounts, it would land in February, $400, not $200, to get you up to date, and then go to December. Then viewers say, would I guess multiple stimulus checks and this? Yes, this does not cancel out something else. Third, viewers say, what about my child who's 16 years old on SSI? Will they get a 20% increase? That I don't know. That is just really hard to say. And then finally, viewers asked me a really great question, which is, Social Security is taxable. We all know that. So if he's increasing your Social Security by a lifetime by about 20%, or throwing $200 on top of your Social Security, or giving a new benchmark to raise your Social Security, does that mean you're going to have to pay more taxes on it? Presumably, yes, unless he does something different. So this would be a taxable instrument. Some of these instruments from the federal government are taxable. It's not a lot of money, but it is taxable. Like FPUC, it's taxable. This would presumably be taxable. Stimulus checks are not taxable. And there you go. Well, what else? Hazard pay? Yes. Hazard pay is just, someone's going to be writing this bill, and it may not be the person who wrote the last hazard pay bill. So you may see different things. You may see the amount is different. The eligibility may be different. The time frame of eligibility may be different. There's a lot of factors at issue. First, the original hazard pay was $13 an hour. Will they keep that number? Will they change the number? Hard to say. That's the first one. Second, they did hazard pay from January to 60 days after the pandemic. Are they going to do this hazard pay bill written the same way? Hard to say. Next, they did hazard pay with very broad eligibility classifications for essential workers, and then they backdoored it with another classification later on. They could do it with this one? No. I think Biden's going to be really careful and make sure he includes the essential workers he wants to include. He has talked about that. He did not think that the school teachers got enough essential worker coverage in the awarding the hazard pay. So there you go. That's where you see changes. And will there be a maximum cash out? Yeah. I mean, the current one is $10,000, and then a step down to $5,000 if you make too much money, 2019. So we'll see about that. EIDL grant. Oh boy. EIDL grant will be back. It'll be back in so many forms, but let me make something clear, which you heard last night on this channel. I'm going to be giving you more exclusives. The EIDL grant and the EIDL loan that's coming back is going to be totally different on how they process information. This is what my inside source is reporting to me. The EIDL in 2020 had a line in there, self-validating. So they asked you what your cost of goods sold is from 2019, what your gross revenue is from 2019. Apparently, my source says that when you provide that information, they're now verifying this against your tax return or your business's tax return. So be prepared to be accurate and be informed and be knowledgeable about what you're doing. Which grants would you get? You'll get the remainder of $10,000 grant. You'll get the grant if you never got the grant, meaning you applied on time but they ran out of money. You'll get the grant if you got the loan but didn't get the grant because the grant was closed. But you won't get an additional grant. So if you got a grant, you're not going to get an extra grant. You can't get two loans either. I don't think they're going to do multiple EIDL loans. I think they're just going to allow you to escalate your amount of your EIDL loan, which famously was a provision in their contract, which I detail a lot on this channel. They had a provision in there that said they're supposed to allow you to raise your loan amount within the first year. It's actually a contractual term. So it's nice they're following their own contract. PPP will be coming back under Biden. And then also the things that viewers ask me a lot about, like the CDC grant, the Lifeline grant, all that deliciousness and the rent and the food and the utilities. Let me explain the rent and food and utilities first, and I'll get to those other ones. The rent and the food and utilities would come from a federal agency. The current rent under the second stimulus package is a mess. It's going to the cities, it's going to the counties, you apply at the cities, it's just, oh God, just do it the right way. They should be sending it to HUD or some federal agency and do it the way that Nancy wrote, which was brilliant, which is you send your lease in, you send a letter, you say, I'm having economic hardship, here's my lease, and here's the landlord's information, and here's their landlord's banking information. And bam, they approve it, and the bank and the agency pays the landlord on a regular basis every month. Done. Very, very simple. That's the way they're going to do a third stimulus package. There'll be eviction moratorium. There'll be a mortgage forbearance. There'll be student loan debt forgiveness. And then let's cut over to the most delicious stuff, which are things like, the CDC grant, the Lifeline grant. The Lifeline grant is based upon, again, cost of goods sold, up to $50,000 if you had big cost of goods sold in 20. I pause because I don't know what year they're going to use. I was doing these videos in 2020 last year based upon 2019. So what are they going to do this year? Are they going to say based upon 2020 or 2019? And some people, you would prefer one year over the other year, or another person may prefer the other year. So I don't know which one they're going to do it off of. That's how the Lifeline grant works, up to $50,000. So you have to have a big CO COGS to get that $50,000. Then the CDC grant, that's essential workers. Viewers are already asking me, hell, is that the same as the hazard pay? Is that duplicative? It sounds duplicative, I know. You're gonna hear me say this on a regular basis. Apply for everything that you think you qualify for. Don't say, I already applied for something else that sounds like this. Why are there two things like this? Because they're legislators. They don't always legislate well. Sometimes things just sort of sound the same. Ultimately, we will see if they have a provision in them that says you cannot apply for multiple things. Those provisions are in PPP, but let's see if they're in something else. So much happening across the board. I'm so glad you joined me. It's going to be a big morning. Boy, it is. Make sure you go to the front channel, hit the alert button. Also subscribe, like this video, watch the EIDL at 1 a.m., watch the PUA at 2 a.m., and watch the video right before this, and you'll be very, very, very up to date to kick in the new morning. And then I'll see you at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay that life for more.